We need to start the program as soon as possible.
Okay. Right.
Sir, 1 minute. I'll just introduce and we can start the program.
Okay, I make you co-host. Dr. Dutta, I make you co-host.
Right, sir.
You are now, okay, you are now co-host. Please
Right,
start,
sir.
sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Muhammad Azmir Hussain, and the chairperson of Department of Business Administration, Dhaka International University, for hosting this international lecture series. I also would like to thank the chairman, board of trustee, Barrister Samim Haidar Patwari sir, who is not present today, was supposed to make the inaugural address, but he has some other assignments, so he is out of town. But he has sent his best wishes for this program. I'll not take much time. I take the privilege to introduce the resource person for today's international lecture series. Today we have, it's a great pleasure in fact and honor to have amongst us Professor Gautam Rajkhowa, currently serves in an academic position in management studies at Newman University, Brimingham, UK. Previously, he held academic position at the University of Chester, UK, where he also successfully led the MBA program with a large cohort of international students. His focus area is internationalization of higher education, and before switching over to academia, he served in the corporate at very senior level. So it is indeed our pleasure to have sir amongst us today. Anyhow, there was some technical difficulties and the program started little late, but being an online, we have to be ready for such kind of adverse situations. Not taking much time, I invite Professor Gautam Rajkhowa sir to please kindly address the delegates, especially students and lecturers and professors from Dhaka International University and other universities in Bangladesh. Hand over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You can. Okay. Let me see, first of all, whether I can. I'll have to share my screen and then we should be okay. Vivek, just give me 30 seconds. For some reason, my screen is not coming on. Hold on. Just bear with me a minute. The screen is not coming.
Now, I would also like to thank Dr. Muhammad Sirajul Islam Pradhan, who is the director, IQAC, Dhaka International University, for arranging this international lecture series in association with MTC Global Bangalore. Dhaka International University is one of the leading private universities in Bangladesh and offering program in law, business, and all other streams of engineering and social sciences disciplines. During this COVID-19 situation, Dhaka International University has taken the lead to start online engagement since beginning and also started online assessment, evaluation, and lot of other activities. It has taken the lead in Bangladesh in online education. Over to Professor Gautam, sir, please.
Okay. Is my slide showing at your side?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can see my first slide.
Right, sir?
It says management education through the lens of COVID-19. Is that right? I'm just wanted to make sure that you can see it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So today's topic, good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining the session. So today's topic, as was discussed earlier, was to talk about management education through the lens of COVID-19. Now, we live in quite unprecedented times. There are a lot of changes happening around in the world. And what I will try and do in the next few minutes is try and see how management education may have changed or will change, and what would be required and expected of students who are pursuing a career in management. What are the skills, what are the attributes that they may have to develop over the next few years? But before going into looking at what is happening currently in the world, let's try and just look back a few years and to see how the world of work has changed over the last maybe 200 years. So first of all, let's go back to 200 years back. 200 years back, you had the steam power, which brought workers to factories where they would use new machines. So steam power was the thing then, and that was the discovery 200 years back. And what that bring in? It built many big corporations. Corporate giants emerged in the late 19th century. And as these corporate giants emerged, staff were required to come and administer these, whatever these factories were manufacturing or building. And where did this staff come? What did they do? They were planning meetings, there were memos which were circulated, there were invoices which were raised, all kinds of other paperwork. And all of this which was generated needed to be recorded somewhere. And they had to be done at some central place. So to be able to do that, people came close together and created a pattern. People started commuting either by car or by some other means of transport or by means of public transport, and they came to a central place, which was then termed as the office. So work meant that people had to go to the office, wherever that was, usually at a central place, and it could be in the city center, town center, or it would be a factory location or somewhere else. So work and home life were quite separated. People basically meant that at some point in the day, whether it was 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning, or if it was in a factory, it was a shift, you went out to work and you came back from work. So there was that factory and there was the place of work. They were quite separate from the household. But things have now changed. And things have changed because the world of work is fast changing. If this was what was the old factory or the place of work, the new place of work is more replaced by what we see here. Now, agreed that we had difficulty in some challenges in getting ourselves connected today. That may have been because we were trying to incorporate too many people into it and the links were not working, or whatever those causes might be. But nonetheless, I'm sitting here some 6,000 miles away. Dr. Dutta is sitting somewhere else in India, and all of you are in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, and maybe in Dhaka, maybe it's separated around, not in your campus as well. Most of you are at your respective homes or places, other places, but yet you're being able to connect, and we are able to share some views or have this discussion. And this is happening primarily because what you see at the top is this concept of the World Wide Web that has been able to bring things together. And then there is the whole discussion about the Internet of Things. So even today, when you talk about the factory, I'm not even talking about the place of work, the factory, the garment factory, which is probably making T-shirts and trousers and jeans and clothes and dresses based somewhere in and around the suburbs of Dhaka, and catering to the to the departmental stores, whether they're based in the US or in the UK or otherwise. A lot of their interaction is happening via technology. Designs are being made maybe in Paris or in Florence or in Milan, and those designs are being sent digitally through to the factory in Bangladesh, where they may have another CAD/CAM machine or some factory machine where the layout is made, the design is templated, and the fabric is cut. Now that is also part of technology. It's not necessarily what we see in the office, but we are talking about in the factory. If you look at it in terms of the office, let's try and look at some statistics of how things have changed. So these are some very common brands or images that you see today. In this image, there is no Coca-Cola, there is no Procter & Gamble, there is no Reckitt Beissner or any of the other manufacturing, or ICI or Dow Chemicals or otherwise. You have a whole range of things of which you can probably recognize straight away, starting from Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, Zoom, Teams, WebEx, YouTube, Google Docs. These are brands with which all of you are familiar. Now, these are some of the applications or developments that have happened in the last maybe 20 years, which has changed the world of work. Slightly more, because PDF was the first, if you like, development which helped offices to, or people to share documents across, and that happened in 1991. So internet started earlier on, but it got popularized later. But if you look at the way we are sharing documents, it was PDF when it started. It was the first thing which allowed an individual to share a document with another individual without having the problem of data loss, etc. So these are some of the things that have happened over the years. And if you look at the statistics, I've just put some statistics here. The web has close to 4.13 billion users. And the statistics indicate that in Bangladesh alone, you have got about 100 million users. For a small country like Bangladesh, 100 million. US probably has about 192 million. So that tells you about the magnitude. When you talk about Google, you have 3.8 million searches per minute. That translates to about 5.6 billion searches per day. That's how Google works. Facebook has close to 2.7 billion active users monthly. And in terms of mobile phones, it is estimated that there are about 10 billion subscribers. And again, the BTRC data indicates that Bangladesh has close to 100 million. So this gives you an indication of the scale of development that has happened, even if you look at it in the context of your own environment, which is Bangladesh. So in terms of what is the reach and what is this going to have in, let's say, impact on the world of work. I'll share with you, if this works, a small video, and this is about how technology is working in the world of retail, right? And I would imagine most of you have heard of Amazon. I'm not quite sure whether Amazon works in Bangladesh, but Amazon is quite popular in India, I know. But Amazon is quite popular worldwide. It originally started off just selling books. Now it's a big, if you like, digital supermarket. But here is what Amazon is showing how they use technology in retail. And this is something which is being used in retail elsewhere in the world as well. Now, I just hope the technology works here and your video shows. You can see the video?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
If you could walk into a store, what if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store, so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Okay. So that was just a short clip to show you or share with you something which is happening in the world of retail, and it's happening. That was before 2017 they were showing. This is already happening, and they're using artificial intelligence in retail. There they're showing how somebody walks in, and especially in the current situation where social distancing and other aspects are so much important, contactless. You see how contactless is working in the world of retail. Let us look at some other aspects of technology or artificial intelligence, AI, in the retail space. So you've got robots who are helping in hardware stores to help customers navigate their way through the store. So the robot is actually telling the customer where they can find, let's say, a ladder or a paint or whatever particular paint they want, etc. They go into the screen, they ask for what they want, and the robot then guides them through going through the place. The robot also asks simple questions, and then they share specialist knowledge about products and their usage. So if you're looking for a particular item, like a tool which you require to do something in your house, like a hammer or a saw or anything else, you ask the robot that this is what I'm looking for, and the robot then helps you in building up what is there. And in turn, it is helping to manage the inventory. So the store knows exactly what items are being sold, what items are there, and so on and so forth. Now, in another way, how technology is being used, you probably may have heard of a brand called Zara. They do quite a lot of manufacturing in Bangladesh. I don't know if they have any outlets in Bangladesh, but they're definitely in India and elsewhere in the world. Zara uses radio frequency identification, RFID, and that's tagged onto their clothes. So high-priced items have RFID code so that you don't have to stock a whole lot. Maybe there are, say, 5 items or 6 items, and somebody has taken a garment and is trying it out in the trial room. Now, when you check the setup, the computer system, it says that there are 2 items available or 3 items available on store, but on the shelf there's only 1 item. But because of the RFID tag, it straight away can identify and say, yes, there are 3 items. 1 item is in the trial room because somebody's trying it, and another is just outside the trial room shelf. So stores can manage with less inventory. So that's how technology is helping them work. Okay. You've also seen drones. Drones are used quite heavily. I mean, this is a classic way of delivering a big package, let's say, through a drone. And they're being used in retail, and some applications are illustrated in the next slide. So let me go through some of the ways by which drones can also be used in retail. Right? First of all, you have in stock and inventory planning. So what happens in stock and inventory planning? Drones you have in real estate planning, you have for photography, and you have for studying consumer behavior. So let's look at each one of them one at a time. So in stock and inventory planning, you're using it for warehouse management, and drones can ensure that the shelves are easily stocked. That's something which we discussed earlier when we talked about the situation in the hardware store. In terms of real estate planning, it can help you in proper utilization of space. And how it does it, it's by taking photos of the location and then being able to utilize space. So think about it this way, that you have a factory or a warehouse 200 kilometers away from where your office is, and you want to manage that, or maybe 500 kilometers away, or maybe 1,000 miles away, it doesn't matter, or elsewhere. The drone takes the picture, sends it back to you, and then through that you can give directions without someone actually physically having to be in that location, the manager or the director actually being physically in the location to guide that to happen. It helps in photography. You've seen that happening. It is quite common nowadays for, it is in fact a novelty in various places where wedding photographs are taken by drones because they take through various angles, etc. But that's at a personal thing. But when you look at it in relation to offices, or in terms of business, or in terms of how you're going to do work, it helps taking photographs. Say, for instance, you are thinking of setting up a new factory at a location which is quite distant from where you are. You want images to come back of the location to see what is the geographical nature of the place, or what's the topography, what does it look like. You can get detailed, very detailed photographs taken by drones, which come back, and then based on that, you can take decisions. And then you have consumer behavior. We talked about the stocking and inventory, but it also can track and study consumer buying patterns. So that's another thing which those of you who are doing marketing will know about, how to study consumer behavior and then decide what products should be available where, which markets, and so on and so forth. Okay. So COVID-19 has changed social behavior. Social distancing has been in rise, and artificial intelligence has created a fair need of various things. The very fact that we are delivering this session via Zoom and you are located in different places whilst being in the same city is as a result of social distancing. But let's see where technology is also working with social distancing. Here is an image of a robotic cleaner, and this robotic cleaner helps in giving out ultraviolet light to disinfect, clean restaurants, shops, and malls. Now, the technology was available always. They were being used in hospitals and other areas. They are now being used or applied in, say, a vacuum cleaner, what we would call, but it's a robotic cleaner which is being used for sanitization, etc. So there again, artificial intelligence is being used and technology is being used. So when we look at all of these sort of situations, how does it affect our place of work? How does it affect us? What is happening to the workplace? So the workplace is changing. Our problems are more complex. We have to collaborate and build partnerships. This session itself that we are holding is a result of a collaborative arrangement, a partnership between MTC Global, Dhaka International University, and myself. We are in three different locations, three different entities, but we are collaborating together for an end result, which is just holding this session. So collaborations and partnerships are a common thing in today's world. There is interconnectedness and remote working. Interconnectedness most in terms of, here we are using a platform which is allowing us to give both audio, video, and also show you a video of something else, and from a remote thing. So interconnectedness is our interconnectedness of various platforms and technology, and this business of remote working, people not necessarily in the place where the action is taking place, but delivering from elsewhere. We're talking about global connections, which relates to your bit about collaborations and partnerships. So there's a lot of connections which are happening, not only just in manufacturing. Manufacturing, we know about it because you will know about it more than I would, because Bangladesh is, in terms for garment exports particularly, and for export of some other items as well, has got global reach in terms of where it does. So that's one aspect of global connections. But even in terms of knowledge and service and education and other areas, global connections are becoming more and more important and prevalent. So what do these mean? This means that it more complex means we are managing uncertainty. 6 months back, 8 months back, nobody ever imagined that the world would be, businesses would be in the kind of lockdown or social distance or type of uncertainty that we are facing. In the past, when we had natural disasters or any other aspects, they were usually remote from us. It happened in another part of the world. Yes, it affected us to some extent, but it happened in somebody else's area, not necessarily in your own home or in your own neighborhood. Right now, these problems are spreading, and business means you're managing uncertainty. More and more, as a result of collaborations, partnerships, interconnectedness, our teams are virtual. This is a classic example of a virtual team. We are not physically present in the same location. I haven't met Bholanath for maybe about 3 years in face-to-face. I haven't met anybody from DIU I haven't met anyone for that matter of fact. So it's a virtual team. Multicultural, again, you'll find teams which are spread across the world and not necessarily from the same nationality, from the same culture, but different cultural aspects. You'll have to manage technology. We've seen today itself, there are challenges. When technology works, it works perfect. But when it gives you challenges, then there are a number of ways where things are difficult. How did we solve it today? We are using Zoom, whereas going back to the icons which you used earlier, the communication otherwise was happening again via the internet, but using another platform, WhatsApp, in terms of communicating with one another. So people have to understand managing technology and how it gets integrated. We talked about a multicultural team, so cultural awareness, language, those are other aspects which are important. And lastly, being able to work in different time zones. The time zone between me in the UK and India and Bangladesh is not that difficult. It's all within the working day. It's about 11 o'clock here. It's probably 4:15, about what, 4 o'clock there? Something around 3:34. Whereas when you look at it in terms of if you're working in the Southern Hemisphere and your Northern Hemisphere, or you're working USA and Asia, there's quite significant difference in that. So one has to be aware of that as well. So with these changes in the workplace, what are the skills that are required? So this is where it comes in relation to your role, or as a management student, what sort of skills would be required in the workplace, not just for today, for the next maybe 5, 10 years, 15 years. And as you get onto more senior managerial positions, what is today's youth going to ask for? Those who are in school today, not in college, or those who are in primary school or secondary or middle school, they will be your colleagues or employees or people who will be working with you or supporting your team when you take on managerial roles. So how do you also work in a manner in which you understand how they are thinking and how they are working? So some of the skills that you would require are, you've got to be adaptable to change, to be able to understand, pick up new skills, to pick up new knowledge. That's one of the things. Got to be creative in the way you solve your problems. So creativity becomes important. Creativity, I'm not just saying from the point of view of being able to be a good artist or a good photographer, but creative also in terms of thinking of how to solve problems or how to face up to challenges, right? Communication becomes important. Communication, not merely knowing 5 languages or 3 languages or 2 languages, but even within the same area, even if you speak, it's not just about the language, but how do you express yourself, and how do you express yourself and make others understand what the challenges are or what needs to be done. So communication becomes an important aspect. It's collaborative. We talked about collaboration earlier. Increasingly, work will be more collaborative. It will be more partnerships. People will work in partnerships. If you're working, collaborating with others, you also have to be culturally aware about various things, about how people expect to be treated, how people expect to be addressed, how people, what's the role of the family in terms of when they work, number of aspects. And I think those are being addressed in various aspects that you do in your studies. But cultural awareness is very important. If you live in Asia, you have say in the Indian subcontinent, there's a particular way that you work and the way you respond to challenges. If you come away from there and you work in Europe, it's slightly different. If you go to America, it's going to be different. If you go to Southeast Asia, places like Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos and Malaysia, Singapore, again, it's going to be slightly different. Empathy is about being able to understand and be able to realize what other people are doing and to see the challenges and be able to work with them. The other 3 are about emotional intelligence. It's not just about academic and IQ, but also being able to understand and be able to work with colleagues and people. Being able to be flexible. So flexibility has a link with being adaptable in that sense. And being innovative, creativity, and innovation. Again, that's an important part. Independent learning is something which we all have to do.
মোবাইল টা এখন চালু দিও না
It's not about
এটা তো দাদা
how,
বাচ্চা
it's about learning. It's about managing remotely, right? We talked about remote working. So how are you going to manage something remotely? There's some background noise.
এটা মনে আব্বু
And then we're talking about managing uncertainty.
And I'm sorry to disturb you, dear student. Dear student who are unmute, please mute you. You are disturbing, dear student. Maybe one of the students are disturbing. Your sound is making problem. Please mute you. Okay, sir, continue, please.
Yeah. Okay. So then we talked about managing remotely. So if you're working distant and you have virtual teams in 6 different areas, how do you manage? How do you manage your team? Initially, you might be a part of a team, so you've got to manage yourself as well. And how do you manage others? How do you get that going? Then we are talking about managing uncertainty. So we talked about challenges. So how do you manage uncertainty? How do you, if things are predictable and you know that this is how things are going to happen, it's fine. But if things are going to not work for you, you plan to a particular way and it doesn't happen, what do you do with it? Right? We talked about remote working and virtual teams. An important part of it is to be a reflective learner. We talked about independent learning, where you are not necessarily taught. You're given the Can you hear me?
yes sir
Yes. We are hearing, sir.
Yeah. So you become a reflective learner. So reflective learner is about being able to look back on the things that you've done. Like say, for instance, we've done this session today. Some things would have gone okay, some things wouldn't have gone okay. So how do we learn from this and make ourselves, prepare ourselves better for the future? How do we learn, maybe deliver a different another session at the same time, learning from our mistakes or learning from our successes? So it's the bit about reflecting, being able to think back, sit back, and then look back at what things you've done and how to take it forward. The other two, the resilience is about being strong. It's about being able to, be able to withstand some of the challenges that are thrown at us, whether in the personal level or whether in the professional level, or even whilst running a business. There will be a number of challenges which will come. Those could be, at times it could be lack of finance coming in. It could be orders not coming in. It could be that you've got the finance, but you don't have the orders, or you've got the orders, you don't have the finance, or there could be some natural disaster. All kinds of things can happen. So how do you build up that resilience? And important part which goes with all of these things that you said is about social interaction. And social interaction is important because you will be, to a great extent, if you're working remotely in virtual teams, you may not necessarily meet people face to face, but how do you maintain your interaction? So what are the things that you would require, I would say, in relation to the three main skills? I would say that would be useful, or things that you should think about as students of management. And I've put them down to very simple thing, 3 R's. You're management students, so you are accustomed to bringing it down to simple things like the 5 P's, the 7 P's, doing a pestle analysis, doing a SWOT analysis. So here are your 3 R's. The first one is take responsibility. So you have to be responsible for your own learning. Your teachers, your professors, your other people that you meet will facilitate the process, will tell you what are the things which are there, what you need to do, but you've got to take responsibility for your learning. The second thing I would say is that be resilient. Just don't be despondent. At this point in time, maybe, you might be thinking, okay, once I graduate, if you're doing a BBA or an MBA, well, where's my next job? What is the package I'll get? Job market may not be as great as one would have liked it to be. So you have to have that inner strength inside you to be able to withstand this minor dark clouds which are floating around. The sunshine will come, but you'll have to be resilient for that. As a business also, you've got to be resilient. So you've got to learn those bits. And the third is about relevance. How relevant are you? So you've got to upgrade your skills, update your skills. What you were saying, is it relevant for today? What was applicable yesterday may not be applicable today. It may just be history. It's useful to learn from the past, but you can't just, if you take the analogy of driving, you cannot drive by looking at your rear view mirror. You look at your rear view mirror to get an idea of what's happening at the back, but you're driving forward. So in terms of relevance, you're looking forward and seeing what is relevant today, what is going to be relevant tomorrow. And in all of this, what I would say that the future of management or future leadership is in sustainable leadership. How do you sustain? How do you create a sustainable platform? How do you create a sustainable environment for your business, for yourself? And for this, again, we talked about the 3 R's. We talk about sustainable leadership, and I'll bring it down to the 3 P's. Again, something which you would have covered in various lectures probably, but again, I'll bring it back to you to remind you. First of all, you've got to think about people. Management is about people. And increasingly, it's becoming more and more about people. It's because we are in a service setup. Whether you talk about the Zooms, the Googles, the what apps, you don't see factories, right? So there's a lot about people that we're talking about. You also have to think about the planet. We talk about sustainable leadership. It's about how do you protect your planet? There's a lot about climate control and plastics and pollution and all the rest of it. But also, how do you protect your planet for a country like yours? How do you protect your country from even natural disasters like floods and hurricanes and stuff? Why are they happening? Is it because of some of our practices? Or is it just the act of God? I don't think it's just the act of God. It's because of the practices that we follow and what are we doing to the planet. So in everything that you do, you also have to think as a manager, how is it affecting the business? How is it affecting the planet? And you have to think about profit as well. Because if you don't make money, how are you going to utilize it? The question then remains is that, what do you do with that profit? Is that profit just for dividends for your shareholders, or do you put your profit into the community? Do you put your profit back into the business, or what do you do? And that's important thing. So try and remember, I'll go back again, the 3 R's: take responsibility, be resilient, ensure relevance, and think about the people, you think about the planet, think about how you make profit, right? And profit is not necessarily a evil word. It's not a dirty word. If you are there, even a charitable organization has to make surplus, because if a charitable organization is running on donation, and if it's not being able to manage its funds properly, then obviously donations will run out. So we are not talking about profit in the sense that, okay, take your profit and you take it away. But what do you do with the profit? Do you put it back into community? Do you put it back into the business and help the business grow? What do you do with it? That's an important part. And there's a lot which is being written on profit. If you, some of you would have probably read the work of Muhammad Yunus, who's very famous within Bangladesh and world over, a Nobel laureate. If you read his work, there is a lot which is written about sustainability and profit, corporate social responsibility. But when we talk about relevance and ensuring, responsibility, relevance, etc., there's also a point there that you're just talking about corporate social responsibility, but as a manager, you also take responsibility individually. So you have an individual social responsibility as well. So the future is, for management educators, there are challenges, but there are a number of opportunities as well, because challenges give you opportunities. So what I would encourage you to do is to embrace the future. Embrace the future and start asking things. How can we do things differently? Do we just follow what people have done for the last 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 200 years? No, things have changed. So how can we do things differently? And how can we do different things? There are two different things, right? How can we do things differently? And how can we do different things? What else can we do? Are there new opportunities which are available? And how do we service those needs, right? As an individual, set clear and explicit goals. Make very clear, okay, this is what I would like to achieve. This is how I'd like to do. And if you do start now, you can take that forward in your place of work as well. And have a clear and distinct sense of purpose. This is very important. So each one of us are here to play a particular role. But the challenge is, do we know what our role is? Do we know what we are supposed to do? Even when you're in a place of work, does the organization make it clear to you? If they don't, you can definitely ask, what is my role? What is it, or what is this department's role? What is the purpose that we're trying to achieve? So that's extremely important in terms of how you look yourself in management. Okay, so these are the broad points which are there. I'll end here, and then I'll keep it open for any questions that you might have. Yeah. Okay. We can go back to questions now if that's what you would like to do.
Thank you so much, sir, for wonderful deliberation. Starting with digital transformation, then the principle of 3 Rs and 3 Ps, and also how the management students can embrace the future challenges and the changes to remain relevant. Now I'll request, this is an open expression space, so students can ask the question. Please type it out in the chat box.
Okay. Are there any questions coming up?
Dear students, do you have any question to our respected resource person? You can write in your chat box, or you can raise your hand to ask the question to our respected resource person. You are allowed to ask if you have any question. Dear students, did you listen to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. If you have any question, you can raise your hand, or you can unmute you and ask your question. Any colleague, my respected colleague, faculty members, or any student, if anybody have any asking question, our resource person is ready to give your answer.
Yes, somebody has there. Yes, Ashkir, you can ask me.
Yes, sir.
What's your question?
It is my pleasure. Thank you, sir. We got a high quality meeting today. Thank you a lot of. But I wanted to ask you something for the robot, and it is a benefit for the business when the people, business people, they are using for the robot.
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Is it beneficial for the business when?
The robot.
What about COVID?
Within the COVID-19. We know that before the COVID, before this, the technology, new technology. This robot is new technology for the business. I think that. So this is when we have, this year we have COVID-19 that is around the world. So it has a benefit for the business, the side of the robot.
Dear student, is your question about robot or robotic business?
Robot business, yeah, robot business.
Okay, yes. See, if what I had said is that when there is a challenge, there is an opportunity as well. So as a business or a management student, that's what we were saying about being able to think, reflective learner, independent learner, to or look at those challenges and see how you can find solutions for some of those challenges. So when you talk about robotic business, yes, robots have come out in play, because essentially you're looking at various applications which have to be done contactless. So just like when you think about contactless payment, which is just using your card to make a payment, uh, similarly in some other aspects, whether it is in the factory or it is in cleaning or in some other aspects, you can use technology without human intervention. So there is an opportunity for robots definitely there. So the question there is, where will you use it? You've got to think about it and say whether it is something which can be used better, and how it will be used. So there are opportunities everywhere. Like I'll give you an example. There are people who were making I'm sure they are making at your end in Bangladesh as well. Garment manufacturers were making garments. Now they are making masks, right? So they have changed their production facility to make masks, because that has become something which everybody has to use now. Earlier they were not using that, right? Similarly, if you look at social distancing, in various places you find plastic screens which are being there. They were used earlier, but people had moved away from it in offices to become open plan, and now they're bringing it back. So there are opportunities there. So every challenge that comes provides you with opportunity, but it's a question of finding out whether that's an opportunity you would like to explore. So going back, yes, robots are developing, yes.
Some of the students are asking to our respected resource person.
Right. How can we start up a new business?
Will you provide the
Okay, I have seen that. Okay, it says, somebody has asked me, how can we start a new
they
business?
are asking, will you share the
Okay, first of all, I think there is a question here, how can we start a new business during pandemic? And then there is another one who has said, what about inventory system? Can you please elaborate? See, when you say, can you start a new business in pandemic, it all depends on what business you are thinking about. What is it that you wish to do? So the pandemic offers you certain challenges, right? So those challenges, if your business idea is to meet those challenges, then why not? So there is a question there. So let's say, for instance, there are a lot of developments which have taken place in the last 6 to 8 months, which relates to technology. So I'll give you an example. I had somewhere written down, yeah. In 2019, whole of 2019, Zoom, the platform we are using, had 1.9 million users. And in the year 2020, between January and April, the same platform got 2.5 million new users. And that's an opportunity, you would say, because obviously Zoom was there even before all of this happened. But the moment people started, earlier Zoom was more a business application. People in business used to use. In families, people didn't use Zoom to connect to families who are dispersed across 5 continents. Nowadays, I'm sure all of you are on Zoom because you also communicate with your friends or your family or whatever else, and that's the platform. So that's a business opportunity which has come. What about people who are doing, I mean, in various places, delivery, just delivery of items. People are not going to the shops. So in some parts of the world, they are referred to as couriers. In other parts of the business, they are called delivery business. So even within the same city, when there is traffic and I'll give you a very simple example. I go to somebody's house and by mistake, I leave my keys behind there, right? And I come back home and I realize that I've left some keys or a book or whatever behind in their house. To go to their house, it will take me a good 1 hour and 1 hour to come back. Shall I spend 2 hours to collect that book? Or if there is a delivery service available, they will charge me, say, maybe 50 taka or 100 taka, and that's enough, and it will be delivered to my house, or 200 taka, right? It's cheaper for me to get somebody to deliver to me rather than for me going and coming back. Yeah? So that's a business you could think about, but you'll have got to think about where you're going to use that business for. I'm just giving that as an example. So there are opportunities. So it purely depends on the type of business that you are thinking of and how you. The most important thing that you ask yourself is that, is the service or the product that I'm offering a solution for something? Am I solving anything? If you're not solving a problem, then why will somebody buy? Why will they pay you money for something which is of no use to them? So it has to be a solution. So ask yourself that question. Ask your friends, I'm trying to think about this. Does that solve a problem? If it does, yes. That is the short answer. What else did you ask? Somebody asked me about inventory. I'm not quite sure what that question was. It's about stock management. Inventory is mainly about stock. How do you manage your stock? How do you keep your stock? So a simple way of putting it is, if let's say you sell, for a hotel, the hotel's inventory, if you ask, forget the other part of it, what they sell is the bed, the room. And the room is on that given night is what people are going to pay for. Or an airline seat, flight XYZ going at 9 or leaving Dhaka airport at 9 o'clock has got 200 seats. The 200 seats are only for the 9 o'clock flight. At 9:05, when the flight has gone, that 200 seats has got no meaning. It's gone. So when you're talking about management, how do you utilize that? That's in the context of a hotel or an airline. If you think in terms of a small shop, let's say you sell 20 loaves of bread and 50 cans of Coca-Cola a day, just for an example. If you keep 150 cans of Coca-Cola, it's of no use. You're keeping 3 times the stock that you sell, and you're tying your capital in stock. So if you know that you're going to sell 50 cans of Coca-Cola, how do you manage your stock management in a way that you ask the person who's supplying with Coca-Cola, I said, you give me 25 cans in the morning or 50 cans in the morning, you come and give me at 50 cans at night. I don't want you to give me 150 cans because I'm only selling 50. You know that, so you can manage it. So the money which you are putting in another 100 cans of Coca-Cola, instead of keeping Coca-Cola, I say, give me 50 cans of Coke and give me 25 cans of Sprite and give me 25 bottles of water. You've distributed your money, and now you've got 3 products, Coca-Cola, water, and Sprite, rather than putting money into one. So it's about how you manage your stock and how you utilize your resources. Okay. Nowadays, this is an interesting one. Nowadays, people are spending online payment. Is this a safer way because of cybercrime? Well, you put money in your pocket and you walk out on the street, your money can be taken from your pocket, right? That has always been there. So crime will be there. So you have to be very careful about what platform you're using, whether you have the protecting software and those bits. Just like when you take your money, you take it, you protect it and take it. It is there. So that crime will be there. So it's about how you protect yourself. Yeah. He says, what is the best business at the present time? What if I go for online shopping, right? Any business is good business. As I said, does it solve a problem? If it solves a problem, why not? But if you do online business, what online business will you do? Who else is doing that kind of business? Why should somebody come to you? Because if you're doing online business and your platform is not safe, I'm not going to give you money on online, then it's not going to work. So you've got to think about those questions. Yeah. This is a very question which comes quite often. What are the best measures to be in the commercial job market in the near future? Again, it goes back to what we're saying. Like, say, for instance, what is the market looking for? There will be interest in understanding consumer behavior. There will always be interest in understanding how you're going to meet that consumer behavior. So technology is one bit which people are doing, which is through understanding data analytics and IT and all the rest of it. But more importantly, very simple, how do consumers purchase whatever product they're purchasing or service they're purchasing? Now, you have individually, you may have an interest in working with computers, etc. So then you will be able to do very well there. If you don't have an interest in working with computers, then you find something else which is related to understanding the consumer and addressing. So it might sound very straightforward and simple, but ultimately people buy things from people. That is why I talked about people. Even if you go and buy a cup of coffee from a machine, somebody has designed that machine and put coffee in that machine. So you are buying from that. So that is what you need to understand in terms of where the demand market will be. Okay. Any other questions? Because I soon have to leave.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Yes.
I have
Somebody
questions.
had a question. Yes.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
How business affected by COVID-19?
How is business affected by COVID-19? Okay.
Yes.
Let me ask the question back to you. How are you affected by COVID-19? Just think about it. You don't have to answer to me, but how are you affected by COVID-19?
Yes, sir. But as a result, people are dying in affected area, an alarming rate. We cannot even think deadly high.
Okay. See, there are two. See, when you talk about something like this affecting society, it is in many layers. You can't just say, okay, COVID is affecting human beings this way, or COVID is affecting business this way. Now, somebody who's making vaccine will say COVID is affecting me because I can do so much new work. And tomorrow, if I have got the vaccine, I'll need probably 5 manufacturing plants to make that vaccine, right? So they are looking at it as an opportunity. Someone else is saying COVID is affecting me in a very bad way because I cannot open my business. My restaurant is closed. My factory is making things, but people are not buying material. So there are two sides to it, if you look at it from that point. So
Yes.
It is affecting business, no doubt about it. It's affecting people as well. But how do you respond to it is the question. And how do you manage it? Right? Is how I look at it.
Okay.
Right. Somebody has asked me a very interesting question just now. What is the important thing for a business startup? What would you think is most important for a business startup? You got to have your idea. You got to be very passionate about your idea. What is the business idea? And then test that idea, that it's going to work. Because if that is going to work, then there is possibility that you will get the funding. Initially, you will need some money to start off, obviously, to show potential investors, whether it's a bank or private individuals or finance companies, whoever, what is this idea and why you think it is going to give return, right? So think about it. If I come to you and I say, give me a loan of, say, 1 lakh taka, what will you ask me? What for? I don't know you. What do you need 1 lakh for? What is my return? So if I can convince you and say that, okay, it is a good place for you to put in your 1 lakh, 100,000, then there is a possibility that you'll give me. So I think that's the first thing that you've got to think. What is my business idea? Is it going to go forward? And how is it going to go forward? Does that answer your question? Just from Anaf. Anybody else? What is a positioning map in marketing? Okay. Who asked that question? What is your understanding? If you can tell me that, then it will help me. Who asked me the question? What is the positioning map? Okay, I'll answer it in my thing. See, when you're talking about positioning, there are two ways by which you can look. You can think about physically positioning a product or a service. But let me just ask you a question. Who was the first person to climb Mount Everest? You probably will remember. I'll ask you, name the first 5 people who climbed Mount Everest. You'll probably remember 1, 2, and 3. After that, you will forget. On a very simplistic level, if I ask you, think about 7 brands of toothpaste. You will probably remember 1, 2, 3, 4. After that, you'll start asking somebody else, remind me of some other brand of toothpaste. So when you're talking about positioning, it's how the customer or the potential customer remembers you. So you have to be 1, 2, or 3 in their mind. If you're 1, 2, or 3 in their mind, it's likely that your service or product will be purchased. If not, it's unlikely. So that is how you can look at it in terms of positioning, is that how do you position yourself in the mind of the prospective customer, whoever that customer is. Okay. Right, I can take 2 more questions if there is, and then unfortunately I have to also leave because I have another meeting to go to.
Okay, sir, thank you.
No?
Dear sir, I had a question.
Yes.
So as I wrote in the chat, so how can we recover from this pandemic, as we started the new business in the beginning of this year and our business got affected by the pandemic? How can we recover the losses we had?
Right, so of course, I mean, it's very difficult for me to give you an answer to that as to how are you going to recover from the business, because I don't know your finances, I don't know what business you are doing, etc. But the first thing is that you've got to first figure out, how far you've gone into the business and how much of investment you have made, whether making any additional investment is going to help you, or at this point in time, you just have to, restrict your investment and just consolidate whatever you've got, right? Whatever investment you've made, because otherwise you'll be putting in money into something which may not have a return. Because I don't know what your product is and whether the product has or a service has a demand in the current situation. It might be so that you are selling a product or a service and you can make some changes. Remember, we talked about being innovative, being adaptable. Can you make some changes, and will that product or service be attractive to the current market? Will people be interested in buying? That could be one of the things that you might be able to do. Change it slightly. Yeah. So the managerial approach, as you said, is to go and see what is the problem that I'm facing right now? How do I overcome this problem? Is it something that I have to do to my product or to my service? Or is it something to do with the way I deliver it, or the way I manufacture it, or things like that? Someone asked me, how does your business generate income? Simple thing is your product or service there for, and does it service a need? If there is somebody willing to pay for it, you will get. Otherwise, you've got to ask yourself. And right. Different ways to understand my customer. Now, you would have probably, if you have done marketing, you would have covered some basic elements of market research, how you do market research, and try and understand from customers what they are looking for, what product they're looking for. But when you're asking somebody a question, you must yourself be a bit clear about what you're looking for. If I come to you and say, what would you like to buy? You might give me 50 different things. But if I zero it down and say that if I were to make a food item which will be available to you between 5 taka and 10 taka, ready to eat, what sort of item will you require? Then that is a different question, right? So you've got to be very clear. Okay, this is the type of product I want to make, or this is the service I want to make. This is roughly the price I think I will be able to charge. And then you can do a research on that. Okay. Right. Shall we pause here, Professor Dutta?
Right, sir.
Unless there are other questions, unless anyone from faculty has any questions, or otherwise I'm happy.
Sir, I don't have any question though, but I'd like to apologize from our faculty members for the inconvenience that has caused because of the technical problem.
Don't worry about that. Technology we all live with. That's part of that's what you learn in management education. How do you cope with challenges from technology?
Thank you indeed. And your lecture was very informative, and I'm sure our students have learned a lot, and you will be with us, and we will enjoy your lectures again in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir. So I think, okay, let us give the vote of thanks on behalf of Department of Business Administration, Dhaka International University, IQAC, Dr. Sirajul Pradhan, the Chairman, Department of Business Administration, esteemed faculty members, and on behalf of MTC Global Family and student community of DIU, we extend our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Professor Gautam Rajkhowa, sir, who is a very senior professor and who has walked extensively across the world for his presence and enlightening all of us on the impact of COVID-19 situations and how we need to adopt and adapt ourselves with the changing scenario. There have been fantastic questions from the student community on different aspects of business, marketing management, positioning, start a new business. I think the variety of questions, plethora of questions, and sir has enlightened all of us. I have no doubt that this enlightenment will help us, all of us, including me, the teaching community, and the students of DIU, to address the challenges during this time and the coming ahead to beat this difficult time and come out successfully. I have no doubt that Department of Business Administration, Dhaka International University, will arrange many more such international lecture series, and possibly it would be our delight to have Professor Gautam sir, based on his convenience, one or two more interactions in the coming days so that we can learn a lot of things from an experienced global person. Thank you so much, sir, once again for your presence and enlightening all of us on the emerging challenges in management education. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you students. It is not always very easy when you participate in a forum like this to come out with questions, because by nature, a lot of people are shy and they think, oh, this is, I should have actually said it at the beginning that no question is unimportant or silly, because if it is a question, it is a question in your mind. And that is why you are looking for an answer. And I also don't profess that I have an answer for all questions. There are sometimes questions for which I don't have an answer. I can only, or perhaps the answers I have given you are only directions, because nothing is definitive. But it was extremely enjoyable participating in this session. And I think you all, as Prof. Dutta has said, very interesting questions. So that's the important thing. Keep your mind engaged. Keep the questions coming back to your mind. The more questions you have, the better it is. That means you are thinking, and the solutions will come. You will, and those of you who are thinking of starting your own business or startup, yes, you will go down one track, then you'll find that that's not working. Ask yourself questions, find solutions for it, take another track. The thing is that you're constantly doing something, and your brain is working, and your ideas, you're looking for ideas within your own ecosystem, tapping into other people's ecosystems, asking people for advice, going in for startup seminars, workshops, whatever it is. Because there's nothing like, is this the right thing or that is the right thing? 10 years down the line, you'll think, oh, I was thinking about something else. I'm doing something completely different and I'm enjoying it. But the important thing is, whatever you do, you have to have a passion, and you have to believe in it and enjoy. If you don't have a passion and you don't believe in it and you don't enjoy, then it won't be worthwhile waking up in the morning and going anywhere. You'll say, well, it's another drudgery. I have to do it, so I'm doing it. So that's something which every one of us have to ask. It's difficult because a company might come and give you a very good package, but you don't enjoy the job. Another company gives you a very interesting job, but does not give you as much of a salary. Which one do you take? That's a choice we all have to make. But those are good challenges to have. Yeah. But thank you very much once again, and I hope you all have a good. Your academic year has started. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I hope you'll have a good academic year, and you will overcome all these challenges. Wish you all the very best. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Dr. Bholanath Dutta from India, if you give me permission, can we conclude the session now?
Yes,
or
sir,
can
please.
we?
Please.
Okay, thank you very much, dear students, my colleagues, and our resource person, Gautam Rajkhowa from England. Thank you very much to join with us. We are concluding the session. Thank you very much.